On this podcast, I pride myself in sharing stories from all over the world every single day with a different guest. And we're currently up to guests from 75 different countries. And we've had everyone from Hollywood celebrities, big tech CEOs, startup founders, and listeners to this show. And I just love recording it every day for that very reason, and that kind of variety, and getting people from all walks of life on here, sharing how technology is transforming their life, business, and even world. And today, I'm going to take on a trip to the Netherlands to speak with Jasper van Horssen, who's going to share his story of building an MSP IT consultancy company to more than $1 million in just under 2 years. But also how his uniqueness, being true to himself and being results focused, has played a major role in his success. So buckle up and hold on tight, because I'm going to beam your ears all the way to Holland, where Jasper is going to share his story and how it resulted in becoming one of the biggest MSP consultancy companies across the Netherlands and Belgium. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name is Jasper. I'm from Holland and I'm 33 years old. Who I am, I really love food. I recently stopped drinking, so I would say I love whiskey, but I can't. But I love whiskey. And I love squash and sports and everything what drains my energy, because I need something to drain my energy. I used to play water polo quite a long time, but I stopped. And golf and squash. I have a relationship for 10 years and we will get married at New Year's Eve. So we try to do something weird, what's hard to arrange, but yeah.
Wow, getting married on New Year's Eve. That's incredible. And I think also, we're almost like in a bit of a bizarro world here, because before we started recording, we've got the exact same audio set up. And I also love whiskey. So we're a couple of nerds that love whiskey, but unfortunately, I am going to have a whiskey tomorrow night. So I don't want to rub that in. But apologies.
I will be jealous and envy you. Yeah. Oh, and I love cars and watches, but I try to keep the materialistic things down. I have the habit to love it, but I'm like, I prefer to live a minimalistic lifestyle with no disrupting things, but maybe sometime I will splurge if there's like special thing to enjoy.
And what I always like to begin with on the podcast is your origin story. So can you remember where your passion for tech came from, or just a moment that put you on the path you're on today?
Yeah, I actually know the very specific moment. There was in school, I don't know in English how you call it. I was like 18, 19, and I was a big tech entrepreneur. It's Ruud Koornstra. He was one of the first guys who drove a Fisker, and he invented like the LED lights. So he was a very innovative, green thinking entrepreneur. And he had a talk like, at one point, the whole world will be automated by robots and so on. And then when I was like, I love gaming. I gamed a lot, and Call of Duty, and I loved IT, and I'm very critical and automated. I was like, I want to be the person who's in between the people and the IT. And then I knew that I wanted to be in that area, but I did not have education but I knew that it was my path. It took me like 7-8 years before I reinvented myself, but I knew that is what I wanted to, because I love to connect those. Because I think I have the weird mind that I am, and I think I'm quite a geek and a nerd, but I'm okay to communicate, as you will learn during podcasts, and I'm okay with people, and I like, why not combine those two and bring those worlds together? So I knew it at that moment, this is what I want to be. I want to be non-replaceable, so I should be between people and IT.
And of course, it was that path that would lead you to Dxfferent, a Dutch top-ranked IT consultancy company. But can you tell me more about the story behind that company, and also how in less than just 2 years you've built up the company all alone to almost $1 million? Is that right?
Oh, it's actually close to 1.2 at this very moment.
Wow.
Actually, it's kind of weird. Yeah, I know it's in Holland, it's not common to talk about money, but Stephanie said, yeah, it's special. You can tell it. I'm here. We'll like normally wouldn't talk about it. I think it's okay. So how deep and detailed do you want to go in this area?
Well, I mean, really, it's the story behind it all, really, because it is a huge achievement, and it's pretty similar in the UK. Nobody likes to shout about, "Hey, look how much money I've made," and I think it's less about that and what you've built in that short amount of time and the story behind it, because there's a lot of people that there's not too many bootstrapped their way to a figure like that. So, can you tell me more about that story?
Yeah. So I first started in recruitment, but it was really like my first job. And I just liked the guy, and I thought he could tone me down a little bit. I was very energetic and things. And I was like, he can learn me the ropes. So after that, I was a service level manager for a company. I screwed it up big time, got fired within a month. But it was a good lesson for, to learn my place where I was on the scale of professional and not. So that was absolutely okay. And I'm okay with it and I'm happy to share it. Then I became a business consultant at Brunel. It's a big company who's like in the people industry. But they also want to have like a fixed price consulting business. And I love tech, and I was used to the recruitment industry. So they wanted me to help the salespeople who normally just hire and recruit people, to help them to sell more fixed price, like recurring revenues based streams for a specific department. And I helped with that. And then I learned like the process side. I got to see a big companies from the inside. At one point, okay, now I'm kind of salesy, but I really love the companies where I was talking to. Maybe I want to be more nerdy, please, but that's in my blood. And so at that point, I was just checking around. I don't know how to exactly. Came to that point. There was a small company. There were like 5 people working there. We found each other, and they said, like, we really want you to be there. I had my shiny shoes and a white Volvo, and I pretended to be a big man. I wasn't at all. I was fair, But I started there, and then I found that my strong point is processes. I always start from the beginning and see where the bottlenecks are. That's just in my way of thinking and everything. So that's why when I started within the IT company, and then I found what I still see at a lot of IT companies, everything is like tech-based. So I've quickly learned I should focus on the processes, and I should focus on the bottlenecks. I should focus on how do we have great output, and that's predictable. At that point, we came at a point that I decided we should stop using Excel and self-built tools. They had to put the work entries, the hours in one tool. The configuration item was like an Excel, something like that. Invoice was like a self-built tool, so it was like messy. And then I was 2 of my friends, like actually I have 2 group of friends who started at SolarWinds and Able. Like almost every one of my friends was working there by accident. And one of my friends was started to work at Autotask. It's Datto now and just has been bought by Kaseya. So Datto is the company and Autotask is the tool. So I talked to them, and I was lucky to have 2 friends on both sides. So we haggled the price down quite a bit, but I got the insight, not from the sales side, but also from the owner side as a friend. And then I figured out Autotask is a very nice tool, which could do everything. They were not that on that level where they are now, but it was all integrated in one platform. From that point, we had to go to England to learn how it's working. You kind of had to figure it out all by yourself. From one thing came another, and at one point, everything was within Autotask, only not like the serious finance and texting. We just had the CSV export import once a month. That worked fine. Now, you have automation now, but at that point there wasn't. Or one point there was, but I was too cheap to pay for it. It was like, we imported it once a month. It worked for us. Funny story, that company is now a client of me.
Really?
Yeah, and I love to collaborate with them. And at that point, Autotask was figuring out that crazy guy, he has something that works, because that company is doing absolutely great. They totally use Autotask. We would love to use it. They didn't have implementation manager at the time and so on. Yeah, one maybe. And there were like clients refer, can I check out your surroundings, how they work? And I showed them around. And then I figured, I really love to help them. I don't know, I loved it. So that kind of started this for maybe I should start doing this. And what I do now, I learned that to other companies. I copy paste this working formula. But I wasn't at that point yet, because I was building the company. We were growing, like doubling every year. And I loved it. I loved the team. We were like crazy guys together and having a lot of fun. Then we also had the ISO certification. I was like, I need to challenge myself. It's all fine, but is it really? I want to check it. So we also got the ISO certification there. And then I found out, those guys have no idea how it's working in the IT business. I hated it. So then point like, but how do I make sure that they will not overrule me based on my title? And then, as stubborn as I am, I took the course and to become a lead auditor. So I became a lead auditor. I failed the first time, passed the second time. But then I learned like from their side, what's the requirements of compliancy. Then I had the business side in place because I was responsible. I did do all the invoicing myself. I did do account management because I had time. It was automated. I did Autotask, and that everything together came at a point that in 3.5 years, I grew the company 5 times the revenue, 4 times employees. So it was quite a 25, I think, at that time. So, but it was all stable, and I got bored a little bit. And we also had the process that I'm not a technical script guy, and we had a challenge on that side. I'm just being honest. And there was a point that I decided that maybe I want to take the leap to start for myself. I first tried to ask, can I do it like part-time? But that didn't work out. So then we had to stop because the trust was gone. But not our relationship was fine, but the trust that I would be there for the long time was gone. So the director gave me the choice, or do you leave or stay? And he decided, okay, then I want you to stop because it only will harm if you stay longer. And he was right? If your heart isn't there anymore on that position where I was with the team, you are like the captain on the ship. So it's better to stop it quick. And we stopped. And then I had to reinvent myself.
Wow.
And that's how Dxfferent started. I took 3 months to figure out what do I want to do? How do I want to be? What will be my pricing? What's normal? How does marketing work? Because I had a skill, but marketing is something all different. How do I show it to the marketplace what I can do? So I gave away 3 hours of consultancy to test what was, and it's like free marketing, right? And then the clients rolled in, and Dxfferent started. I think that's the short version.
And I think the reason telling that story is so important because, yes, right here in 2022, people will just hear that big figure that you've managed to achieve over the last 2 years. And that is amazing. You're at the top of the summit there. But I think it's the story behind it. And it must have been quite challenging at several moments in that story.
Yeah, absolutely. If everyone asks me, when did you start your company? Then I tell them when COVID started.
Yeah.
I had my own savings. I had a little bit of savings. My partner was absolutely supporting me. She said, you should do it. I will support you. We were in a luxury position that she could handle our finances because we were living quite minimal for both. And we just bought a new house and it was on the lower spectrum that we could handle. So it was our finances were like really in place. I always make the story like, yes, we do absolutely fine, but my monthly expenses are €1,500 a month. That's all. Wow. Still the same. Maybe I go out for dinner, but that's like the one time and we can stop it. But overall, if I have 1,500 a month, it's fine. That's all we need. And so we had a very luxurious position, a little bit of saving, low cost. So I started, but then COVID hit. I actually rented my first lease car, a Renault Zoe, the smallest one there is. And then COVID hit. Yeah, I was crying in the corner, like, how does it work? But actually it launched the company because I had this setup and a remote ID in mind, but the market was not ready for it. You should be on play, should be there. But then the market had no choice. So that really launched the whole subject of remote and fixed price and recurring revenue because they knew whatever will happen, he will have a long-term relationship. So he will help me. And they weren't focused on the hourly, but on the results. So, and we became more effective every month. My pricing was based on my ineffectiveness in the beginning. Now we're much more effective. So that grew the gap between revenue and profit. So that's, but it was really hard in the beginning. It was just scary. And I hate sales. I hate doing sales.
It's so important to share that story, as I said. And on this podcast, I always try and talk about tech trends in a language that everyone can understand. And one of the reasons I invited you on the podcast today was, yes, we're both a bit nerdy, but after reading that you love making things simple and helping businesses stop overthinking everything and demystify some of that technology. So can you expand on your approach when you're working with a business there?
Yes. It's not a must-have, but since I'm highly certified on what I do have my ITIL, Scrum, Prince, management education, lead audit certification. I do have all those things. And I learned it doesn't really matter. Or I just have a very simple method. If you want to know the process, you just ask yourself, okay, where do we start? And then what? And then what? And then what? So no swimming lanes, no all those things. I know how to do that, but I couldn't bother less. At the end, we're just an engineer. He picks up a call on alert. He will start typing some stuff and help the client. And the client wants to know only one thing: it's fixed or not. So I really try to get that simple approach in there. It also really helped for me because I saw everyone is focused on the technique, and I'm using technique and everything, but I'm just focusing how do we make clients happy as simple as possible. I implemented within Dxfferent as well. Everyone's like, yeah, you should do this and this. You should do this form of legal thing. You need a company. You need to have a tax person or whatever, and you need to have invoicing and proposal, and that's all you need. And so just have the foundation there and just start and just learn on the job, like the incrementals with Scrum. Don't overthink it, just start. And we can help with making that easy because we already did it quite a lot of times. So now we know this can be very simple and you should really think this through. And we help with templates and thought process. Like we already did the complex thinking. Our best practice is this, so you can skip all the other things. This is our best practice. What do you think of it? And what should we change to adapt it to your business process? So we help them to understand the complexity in ISO or Autotask of the process because we know what's necessary and what's not. And because we know all the details, all the settings, all the automations, we know you can do this and it won't affect. So it's also a knowledge thing, what can make things easy.
And when I was doing a bit of research on you, I also read that you have a refreshingly fun view of IT and information security. And we've heard IT and ISO compared many different ways, but never fun, possibly. So can you share that view with the listeners too?
Oh, what did you read?
It was just that you've got a very fun view on IT and ISO.
In the ISO certification area, there's like that picture of very expensive business consultants and gray men. Yeah. I'm just a very hyperactive, energetic, enthusiastic young guy who already did do it. And I also have my lead audit certification. So those things combined is like, I know how it should be, like literally. But then I'm like, it's not that hard. We should just do certain things and it's fine. So the fun thing is like, I really try to make it stupidly simple. Like, it doesn't matter. Just do this and it's fine. And it's very weird for people to hear that. Like, the norm says this, you should be doing this, but it doesn't matter. We write down one line, it's fine. They don't care, but we should do this very properly. I just don't take myself too seriously, but I'm very effective on the results, and I'm just, apart from ISO, I'm just really myself in everything. I'm just going around everywhere, all over the place, sometimes with a few directors there. I'm just with my shorts on my bare feet and just sitting on the sofa and having fun. And when I'm going to a client in Belgium, I need to work a lot of hours and say, yeah, it's fine. Just make sure you have 6 white monsters. It's the energy drink. And then even my car, as a young kid, I love the car. I have an old BMW. It's 17 years old. It's nice for tax reasons and cost. But I lowered the car, put subwoofers in it, tinted the windows, everything you shouldn't do as a business owner. But I wanted it. I don't care. All those things. I don't know. Life is fun and just make the best of it. And just even a lot of clients become friends. I even invited 2 of my best clients to my wedding because we really became friends.
And that's what's so refreshing about you. You've got that light-hearted, fun approach, but you are very results-focused and you're always delivering. And it kind of proves that you don't need to take yourself too seriously to deliver those results. But
not at all. I'm even going to DataCon. It's a big event, Autotask, and I'm going there with a whole Dutch MSP group. It's a collaboration of IT companies, and they invited me to be there as an outsourced person. I am a supplier to them, but I'm there. I'm liking having fun and drinking with the guys and maybe get a little bit tipsy beforehand. I will drink in America. I will. So
And if someone was if you were to meet someone at one of those conferences and you give them the elevator pitch on what different is, what would you say makes different from other things out there? I mean, you named your company after it, so I suspect that there is a few reasons there.
Yeah. The name actually comes from when I was young. I wanted to start a clothing brand, and I always found myself a little bit different. When I have a conversation with people, it's like I really like to go in depth. The chit chat is not my thing. I love this, but going to meet new people, it's kind of a bit scary. So I thought it was different, but I wanted to empower that area. So like Elon Musk is different, right? And he even makes joke of it. I make weird joke, but what do you think about a guy who tries to put a rocket on Mars? Like, yeah, I'm weird, I know. And I really wanted to embrace that before. And then I had a name, and I asked to a business mentor, I love this name, but it's not professional. And he said, if you love the name, that's the name. And I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. So, but what would be my elevator pitch? I do help IT entrepreneurs to be in control and automate their business. And I do that by implementing automation, mostly through Autotask, process optimization, and implementing ISO certification to make sure that your quality is there and that you can prove it. I think that will be my elevator pitch. But actually, we have guide as a service. I normally pitch that. So what can you do for us? And that's how we have guide as a service. See us when you come at the airport. There's a guy waiting with a white sign. He says, I'm here. And he brings you to the hotel. Yeah. You're very relaxed. I don't know where he's specifically going. He probably doesn't know everything, but he knows the people. So I'm that for the IT guy. I am your guide who will help you through the jungle of your research. So that's what we are.
And I think your uniqueness is something we should celebrate here. And you mentioned Elon Musk. I'll throw another name in there, Steve Jobs, who famously celebrated the weird ones, the square pegs in the round hole, the rabble-rousers that think differently. And for me, that's what it's all about. But I'm curious, how do you keep your curiosity and open-mindedness alive in such a, I don't know, some would say a grey and boring area of business? How do you keep that alive in you?
Yeah, for me, when I actually have a client now right now, and they already hired another company to help them with ISO. Yeah. But then I can see how I can help them and see that it really works, and they understand it, and they really like this is easy. Now I understand it, and I can make the company great. I have the marketing, and I see the company grow. I see it getting very professional, and I see everyone like being proud. And that's fucking awesome, man. What I do is making things better every day. I don't know. I just love it.
And one of the things I love doing on this tech podcast every day is putting each guest where they live and putting that place on the map and hearing about tech startup scenes outside of Silicon Valley. And obviously you're located in the Netherlands. So can you tell me more about the tech scene over there and what excites you?
The tech scene in Holland is, I think, what most interesting Holland. That's very entrepreneurial minded, and their risks are okay. So it's based on trust, and let's do it, and it's okay to make mistakes, and you're not weak. And so in other countries, it's less common that you're like vulnerable. And in Holland, it's okay. We should not overdo it like we sometimes see on the LinkedIn's right now, but you can just be yourself, and if they trust you and think, it will be fine, we'll figure something out, I feel the connection, we will work together. So I say, yes, I'm result oriented, and in Holland we work very effective, but overall they just love new things. They're curious, like, let's give it a try, why not? So I think that's the entrepreneurial tech scene. If you focus in the IT companies, we see a real coming up of focusing on quality and being more in control, because it's very costly to have stuff in Holland and in the UK as well. It's all about automation. So if they don't want to do things manually, they try to automate it. We are even bringing a new tool on the market in a bit. We will help automate planning, resource capacity, prognosis, and everything. Because in Holland, they only think, how much can we save? And employees are hard to get. So how can we automate things? I think that's the tech scene. But mostly there are a lot of smaller companies who will provide a tool, and sometimes with just a team of a few people, and people are okay with that.
And we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, your climb to the summit there and the success that you've achieved. But as you stand at the top of that summit and you look back at your career, I'm curious, what would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned in your career in tech that you think would be valuable, especially to people listening that maybe at the beginning of their startup?
I think the first thing is like everyone is just human. I was very insecure when I started. It's scary. Big directors. I'm just starting. I need the money, right? It's your income. So everyone is human, and just don't be too polished. Yeah. Just be you, because you're your brand, your identity, and it's okay to be different. I think that's the first thing what I absolutely learned. It's okay to be different. And I'm even also far from perfect. I make mistakes, but I always tell that like. I don't know everything. I will do my very best. But if I don't know and even not sure, I will just tell it. Yeah. Don't try to be better and never lie. I sometimes forgetting because I have so many clients, and there's most of them really a bit look alike. Like it's like oh shit, I don't know. Sorry, man. It's okay. But I never lie. So it's always okay to forget a small detail. And then one that I would love to share, but it's like a easy one. But if you put the customer first in IT and not the tech, you will be the best company. So I would really address it to my clients. Just always put the customer and your employees first, and not what you want as a director, because you're working for your employees and your clients and not the other way around. Yes, you get the revenue stream, but you're working for them. I always did that, even when I was responsible for a bigger company. And don't be scared to try a new thing. Just try and fail. I was so scared to lose money, and I still lose money on failures in my still. And I just started a new venture with a tool. It's very expensive, but that's fun to try. And now because I have my own software, like, well, what's the worst thing? What can happen? I will lose the money, but it's not. It's not pleasurable, but it's okay. And yeah. And then just do something you really, really love. If you're in for the money, and of course we're in for the money, right? At the bottom line, you need income and you love as much as possible. But just do something you love and try to figure out something you're really good at and you really love. Because if you're really good at it, you don't have to be the best. As long as you're 2-3 steps ahead of other persons, it's okay. And the other one is don't be afraid to price your product the correct way. So in the beginning, I thought, I don't know the pricing, but I just price it the way I thought is fair. And people who don't get your pricing point are just not your clients.
That's such a good point and so true, and fantastic advice there. And I cannot thank you enough for coming here and sitting down with me and sharing your story. But I'm going to have a bit of fun now and see if we can thank you for investing your time with us today. And some of the biggest names in business, VC funding and tech have either been guests or maybe even listened to this podcast. So I'm going to ask you now, is there a person that you would love to have a private breakfast or lunch with, and why? And hopefully he or she might just hear this.
Yeah, that's easy. Russell Brunson, the founder of Dxfferent. And why? Yes, he has an amazing product, but he has an amazing platform, and he's so down to earth. He's so honored. He's so himself. That would be the person. Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we'll send that out into the ether. And if anything comes of that, all I ask is you come back and tell us. But before I let you go, for anyone listening just wanting to find out more about Dxfferent, how they can connect with you or start a conversation, what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, like big. So you can just Google my name, Jasper van Horssen, or just Google Dxfferent. That's the English Dxfferent, but the I is an X, and Google it and you will find it.
Well, there's so many synergies between you and I, and you are just such a fun, cool guy that loves tech, loves whiskey, and also not afraid to think differently and just be yourself. And I'd love to stay in touch with you and maybe have a few whiskeys with you at some point in the future at a tech conference. But more than anything, just thanks for joining me today.
Thanks. You're very welcome.
Wow, what a great guy. I felt I could have chatted with Jasper for hours there. But in fact, before we even started recording the podcast, we were comparing podcast setups and microphones, audio interfaces. Just one of those people you can just hit it off with straight away. So hopefully I will meet him and have a whiskey or two at some point in the future. So you've heard Jasper's story today. I'd love to hear your story now. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are online. You'll find me at Neil C. Hughes too. And if you'd like to work with me, my website is techblogwriter.co.uk. But that's it for today. So just a big thank you for me for listening to the show. And until next time, don't be a stranger.